session this evening, just so we can then post it to you and to a number of people that have sent their apologies, so it can be used as a reference point. You can pass it on to anyone else you feel is relevant. A couple of bits before we start going. I'm going to share my screen with you so I can take you through a presentation and show you some of the different documents and web pages I want to take you through. And then I'm also just going to show you how you can go about adding some questions. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see a little message icon in the bottom left-hand corner. If you click on that, you'll see you can type a message. So as we go through, if there's any questions, type them in there. And then at the end, what I'll probably do, what I've done in the past, is leave the questions right to the end, then I'll make my way through any questions that might come up as we go. So I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get going. If somebody could just type in, if you can hear me in the message box, that would put my mind at ease as well. Great. Okay, so let's crack on. Hoping to be half an hour, 40 minutes max, so hopefully it won't take up too much of your evening. All you mic friends are muted, so that's fine, and off we go. So first of all, just a big thank you. As always, myself and Heidi, who is trying to join the call, really value your role, the effort you put in, and we're very aware that many welfare officers out there are fairly isolated in the sense they don't have a deputy welfare officer. So you know, the more we can do to try and drive engagement, the better. And this is another way of trying to do it. So thank you very much for the work you do, and I'm sure it's appreciated by your clubs as well. So the agenda for tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Surrey Welfare Officers Forum, which is a sort of quarterly get-together that's arranged by one of the club welfare officers out in the county. I'm going to touch upon the Surrey Police's new child exploitation programme called SportSafe. We're going to look at Clubmark and the role of the welfare officer within that, and that will probably be the bulk of the session. And then we're going to cover off some updates on ECB Safe Hands and where that information is coming, and then just touch upon training for those that might need it, and then some questions at the end. So moving swiftly on, the Welfare Officers Forum. So Carol Wright from Egham, who I don't think is able to join us this evening, but she came up with the idea of wouldn't it be good for welfare officers to get together from time to time to talk about the role they do. And we've met, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and the uptake has been fairly strong. We've spread it across the county, and it is essentially an opportunity for you guys to network, so to share best practice, to talk about areas of challenge in your clubs, how other people might have got over those challenges. Often lots of chat, and I guess my defining view on the ones I've been to has been that more often than not, an issue that's flagged up by one welfare officer has been resolved somewhere else in the county. So it's a really good opportunity just to get together, talk club welfare officer stuff, and understand what's going on, and have a bit of support from other people that are doing the same role. There's normally a member of the Surrey team there as well, so either I'll be there or Nigel or Heidi. So if you have any more sensitive matters to discuss, there's normally one of us there to do that. But the forum is not about discussing those cases, concerns or issues. Obviously there's the usual network and route to send those, which is generally to Heidi. Next one of those is in just under a month, and it's at Normandy Cricket Club down in Guildford Borough. And if you want to go along, you contact Carol on the email address that's in front of you. As I said, these slides I'll send you as a PDF as well, so you'll have that if you need to come back to reference. I think there's about 10 to 12 booked already, so it should be a good turnout. So that is the forum. So on to SportSafe. This is an initiative that's been driven by Surrey Police, and they're looking to essentially use different sports across the county to increase awareness about exploitation of children. So that's anything exploitation based, so not just sexual exploitation, but a number of different areas as well. It's fairly early in its days at the moment, so as you'll see, on the next slide there's some imagery, there'll be some posters and some Z cards that come out, and essentially your role from our perspective is to utilise those posters, stick them up in the clubhouses, leave some Z cards, which are basically the fold out cards that are sort of credit card in size but come out to an A4 page, just to leave them around your club, so people who may want to read them may learn a bit more about that, and ultimately may then be able to spot if the child is potentially at risk of exploitation. There's the launch on the 18th of March, and I will be sending you the invite to that. Appreciate that, as I said to them at the time, the timing is not going to attract many volunteers during the day, but if anyone is around and wants to come along at the Surrey Sports Park, and it'll be quite a big event with the launch of the campaign. So these are copies of what the posters are going to look like, and the Z cards that fold out. And I think that the message that we had when we met with Maria Edwards, who works for Surrey Police in this area, was that, as it says, exploitation is happening in Surrey. So this is just a piece around awareness, and it's about us trying to increase awareness of parents, volunteers in terms of these areas. Okay, some information about the launch here, but I will send you the link to the launch information for those that may want to book on. Sorry, I'm going back. Okay, so we did a webinar at the start of the year for Clubmark officers, and drilled in on a focus on the safeguarding element, because that's often one that isn't fully understood across the club, isn't always done early enough. So often when we've had clubs that don't make it through Clubmark, it's due to the fact that the welfare side hasn't quite been achieved, and also we often get different people each year doing the process, so people don't always fully understand what it is they're supposed to be doing. So I thought it'd be a good idea to take everyone who's doing a reaccreditation through the same presentation, and then obviously touch upon it with you guys as well. So Clubmark, just to very briefly talk about, has 4 different areas that the club has to provide evidence on, and then have a meeting and a discussion with the county board to sort of demonstrate how it meets the minimum quality standards, and that's what Clubmark is. It is minimum standards for clubs. So it's, there's things and areas where clubs can go above and beyond, but Clubmark itself is meeting minimum standards. And there's a section of Clubmark called Ensuring Every Person Matters, and that really is the section focuses in on welfare officer, and sort of the checks and qualifications that people involved at the club need to have. So firstly, obviously every club needs a welfare officer, that's you guys, and those welfare officers need to be up to date on, and have a current DBS through Cricket, have current qualification within safeguarding, so the generic element of the training, and have a current Safe Hands training, which I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted on that. But if any of you need to update those, we'll talk about training at the end. What we talk about when we spoke to the club junior coordinators was around responsibility for this section, and this section sits quite nicely with the club welfare officer, because it covers off the sorts of things that a club welfare officer probably needs to keep a track on and an eye on. Hence why I'm taking you through it. So for some clubs, some of you might not have ever heard about this or come across it, in which case it might trigger a conversation back at your club to fully understand, but I'm sure most of you have had it passed your way at some point from the various emails and conversations I have. Within that as well, online DBS has come in, as you'll know, and has made life a lot easier, so that the tracking of DBS and the completion of DBS checks now has become a lot more slick, and there's less issues now. So 2 years ago we had something like an 18 to 26 week wait on Met Police DBS checks, which obviously made it very difficult for anyone to to be fully compliant at any time, because a check might be sat with the police for 18 to 26 weeks, and it's very difficult then to do anything about that. But the new system is much more efficient and effective. Casey's role, so for those of you who don't know, Casey Baker works in the office down at Guildford for me, and she looks after the Pride Alliance coaching courses, but one of her other roles is to assist with clubs doing Club Mark to check their lists, their DBS lists, their safeguarding and their first aid, which I'll take you through now in a bit more detail. So firstly, roles requiring a DBS. This is taken from the ECB website, and you'll see the link at the bottom there. So these are the roles that require a DBS. Okay, if there's other people in your club who you feel need a DBS but aren't on this list, best thing to do is drop me a line, and then we can take that up with ECB as we need to. The list is based on the roles and the type of potential unsupervised access to young people those roles might have, but that is the sort of the list. And when you go into the online system, that is the majority of the roles that you would see on there that are relevant to a club. Okay, so I'm going to come out of the presentation. So in terms of when it comes to a club re-accrediting, so doing the 3-year full site visit and planning process, we ask all the clubs to provide us with a list of people who they believe require a DBS check, and obviously then as the coaches a first aid and a safeguarding qualification. So what we've developed over time is an Excel spreadsheet, which hopefully you'll be able to see in front of you. And all we need you guys to do is send us a list of names, the role that person carries out within the club, their date of birth or postcode. And the reason for that is when we go into the systems to check, obviously my name's quite unique, so you probably wouldn't need it for me because you'll find me, there's only one of me, there's only two of my surname in the whole country on the Cricket DBS system. But if it's a Peter Smith, for example, and there'll be loads of them all over the country. So date of birth and or postcode helps us hone down in onto the right check when we go into to look at that. So then Katie will basically look me up on the system, and she'll say my DBS expires on the 23rd of January 2020, which happens to be my birthday. And then the spreadsheet will update and it will colour coordinate. So if actually my DBS is was due on the 23rd of January 2019, it will show you that it's 40 days overdue, whereas at the moment it's showing it's 325 days until my birthday or until my DBS is supposed to run out. So what Katie will do is once you provide the list and the roles, she will populate the spreadsheet. She'll obviously make it bigger the bigger the list is, and we do have some epic lists that come in. So we've had one over 170 volunteers on it, believe it or not. But that is Casey's role, is to carry that stuff out. So what you don't need to do is ask all of your members to provide their DBSs for you to see and check all their dates. All we need is their name, their role, and a date of birth / postcode. Now the role is important because we only need to check safeguarding and first aid for coaches. So if there's lots of team managers and a few other different roles in there, supervisors, we will just check their DBS. But obviously if we don't know their role, we end up sticking them all into the safeguarding and all into the first aid. And as you can imagine, if there's 170 of them, that's a lot of time wasted essentially checking people we don't need to check. So now I know a lot of people that are doing their re-accreditations this year have already been sending their lists in, which is fantastic. If you've not heard anything about this before, you might want to go back to check with your junior coordinator. And if you know that it's on your to-do list, then obviously get it in as soon as you can, so we can help you get your checks up to date come the start of the season. Right, let me just pop back in. Okay, cool. Just checking there's not too much in there. Right. Okay, so back in. So I've covered all this, I think, pretty much. So full name, and with the name, that's important. So if it's, my boss is Paul Taylor, but he's actually Jonathan Paul Taylor. So if I get Paul Taylor, I'm not going to find him. I need to find Jonathan Paul. Obviously, we don't know some of those nuances. So if people are known by different names or nicknames, You just need to give us the name that's going to appear on their DBS best you can. Obviously, if you give a date of birth and or postcode, we'll probably work it out for ourselves. Okay, so getting ducks in a row. So once you've sent that list in, and obviously for those of you that have done this before, we will have last year's list on our system. But actually, every time you open that spreadsheet, it updates with today's date, so it will count down. It's not just a sort of moment in time. Every time you open it, it will then renew. So if you open it in 60 days' time, it will take 60 off all of those countdown numbers. So really, what we're looking for you guys to do is use that spreadsheet that we fill in as your working document. And when it comes to keeping up to date with all these bits, obviously once a year you're going to go through it. You're going to filter out people that have stopped helping, stopped volunteering, and add in some new people. And that's the bit where Katie can help you on an annual basis moving forward. But once you've got that list back, there'll be some gaps more than likely. Hopefully not many. Sometimes they're spot on, but more often than not, it's a work in progress at all times. And I guess what we're looking for is we're looking to see that clubs are proactive and positive, and as long as there's a sort of clear direction of travel, that checks are being sought after, people are being chased up, we're quite comfortable, because we appreciate if you've got 170 people, the likelihood of every single person being up to date at any one point in time is going to be limited, but that's getting less of a challenge now with the online DBS, because that updates on a annual basis. So anyway, so your list comes back and there'll be some gaps. So hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to become an online DBS verifier for their club. We've got about 192 at the moment. If anyone hasn't and wants to become an online DBS verifier, drop me an email and I'll get you added to the list. You have to have a DBS yourself. As long as you've got that in place, then I can add you pretty quickly. And that really helps you guys sort out the checks at a local level. With first aid, we do run some courses, not many though ourselves, but the people that do organise the courses for us also will come out to your club. So Tina, whose email's there, she's delivered, I dread to think, hundreds, if not thousands, of first aid courses in Surrey. I've been here for 12 years and she's been doing them since I've been here, and she's probably doing between 10 and 15 a year, so she's probably done best part of 200 first aid courses since I've been here. She can organise it, so you can either work it out. If you need 12 people doing, it's I think it's a minimum of 12. Well, it's a £200 cost when done directly through Tina, and you can put 12 people on it, so you can work out the maths from there. Obviously, you can work, if you only need 3 or 4, you can always speak to your local clubs and see if they want to go in and sort of share the cost and get that organised. But like I say, there are some courses online on the foundation page there that I've linked. Likewise, with the safeguarding, this is only, so minimum standards will be that the coaches need a safeguarding young cricketers qualification. So they can do their refresher online at no charge. So the link there takes you to a page which is a link where you sign up to an online course which is free. It takes about 90 minutes to complete, and it's a refresher on the course they would have done when they trained. Obviously, good practice. You might want to get team managers to do an element of safeguarding, but this course is really aimed at coaches. So you can't send other volunteers on this course, but ECB are working on a suite of further safeguarding training for a range of different people. But that essentially, those bits there, that's how you get your ducks in a row. So how you when you find you've got some gaps, where you send people for their safeguarding and their first aid elements. Okay, so on to Safe Hands update. So this is literally copied and pasted from an email we received from ECB, just covering off the main changes that have happened. I've requested links to these documents. I haven't had them yet, but they will be updated on the ECB website safeguarding section in due course. So much of this will be based on tweaks, slight changes based on obviously policy change or legislation change, that kind of stuff. So it looks like there's been a tweak to the working together diagram, just been updated because it wouldn't have been done for a couple of years. Obviously with All Stars Cricket being so big now, they've added the activators in terms of the code of conduct. They've updated the policies around photography and filming, because as you will quite possibly know. With social media now, with we're doing it ourselves. We're doing much more video-based communications, because it engages with people in a more proactive way than images do. And obviously, that's just to factor in things you might need to think about when talking photography and filming. So there's a sun safety code. There was a policy added around sun safety, but obviously I think this is possibly a national campaign that's being sort of fed into the ECB policy there around sun safety. Okay, the ECB guidance for clubs will just be a tweak to sort of reflect changes in app-based communication products, I suppose. So when this was last written, things like Snapchat probably didn't exist. Even WhatsApp probably was in its infancy, so it's just being updated to reflect the change in technology. There's also an inclusion of a sort of generic social media policy, which again will be definitely worth looking at. Simplification of the responding, recording, reporting concerns. That would just be stripping out content that's no longer needed in that information, or that form, should I say. Then we've got concussion. There was a lot that came out on concussion last year, but obviously that's been updated again. So again, worth having a read of, worth ensuring that gets passed on to team managers, to coaches. I'm sure it'll get passed to coaches through the CA as well, but obviously the more the message gets out, the better. And then probably the biggest one, which is a change around junior players playing open age group cricket, which is basically adult cricket. So ECB don't recognise anything under 13 at a performance level. So a decision's been taken, because the current policy would state that a county under 12 player would be eligible to play adult cricket, and then for everyone else it starts under 13. And then there was a sort of grey area where if you ran something just below county age group level, you could seek permission for that person to play. I guess this is a reflection on the way the game's changing. The ball is being hit harder, people are more aggressive in their batting, and ECB have taken a decision here that, as it says, any inclusion of under 12s in open age teams should be an exception and not an expectation. So this needs to be, the very best players who are ready for that jump up into adult cricket, not just little Timmy who's 11 or who's 12 and can fill a spot because we're short today. That brings many risks with it. Particularly, makes the opposition potentially have to change the way they're playing the game, which obviously brings the game into disrepute if you're playing league cricket, and just can create quite an awkward situation. I've played in a couple of games where this has happened, and it's not good. You've got to think about what the needs of that young player are above and beyond the needs of the rest of the players who are playing in the game. So that's the change to Safe Hands. And once we've got confirmation that this has all been updated, we will pass on information about where you can find it. And obviously, if you're doing Safe Hands courses this year, this will all be part of the update as well. Okay, so training reminder, and then I think we're pretty much on to questions. So we've got 2 more courses booked at the moment. So the one at Guildford on the 27th of March is fully booked. And for those of you who are attending, I'll see you there, because I'm doing Safe Hands myself this year, because I'm carrying out a formal safeguarding welfare officer role at my club for All Stars. But then we've got 2 more courses booked in at the moment in May at Wimbledon and Chessington, and then there'll be another one in Guildford at the back end of the season. We will promote where we can other local county board Safe Hands courses. So I know somebody attended one over in Beckenham this weekend just gone, but we also have to be careful because some counties do things slightly differently, and we found ourselves in a bit of a standoff around somebody's certificate who it wasn't released when it should have been, but that's all dealt with now. But remember, if you sign up to Safe Hands, before you do that, you need to have your current DBS and also have done the Safeguarding Protecting Children course. If you've done a face-to-face Safeguarding Protecting Children course in the past, you can then do Coaching UK's online refresher. And obviously, if you do safeguarding training as part of your day job, send us a copy of the certificate, because we can very often accept those ahead of the generic stuff. So if you're involved in teaching, for example, the safeguarding training you're getting there is going to be sort of probably greater than the stuff you would get on the generic course anyway. So trying to be as flexible as we can there to make sure that we're not asking you guys to go and suck eggs for an evening if we can help it. Bear in mind we want everyone to have an appropriate level of training. That's the training reminder. Couple of final bits from a communications perspective. So we are forever trying to increase our comms out to the network. And I'll give an example. Recently, we had a club apply or come to us saying they were after some money. Are there any small grants available? And I applied to the club and said, well, have you seen the World Cup grant that's out there? And they said, no, never heard of it. We've not seen it. So I kind of checked in with their local participation officer, who responded to confirm that she'd sent the information out. It had also been on the Cricket in Surrey update. It goes out centrally through ECB. It was on Facebook, it was on Twitter, and it was on our website. So the thing that sort of holds us back on communication is having the right people to communicate with. So where we're trying to really improve that is by keeping spreading the messages about what's on the screen in front of you. So firstly, we have a Facebook page at Surrey Cricket Foundation. Give us a like. We're about just under 1,000 at the moment. We are pushing lots of content out through there, more video content as we move forward, but also things like our webinars we've posted on there because it's open for people to listen to and find out more about what goes on. And just another way of you guys seeing what's happening and us finding out from you what's happening as well, because obviously you can interact on Facebook. Likewise, Twitter at Surrey Cricket FD. We've got the majority of cricket clubs in the county are on there with us, and that works pretty well as it is. But if you have Twitter, then follow us because you'll find out what's coming up. Also, we'll do the test again. So Cricket in Surrey Update is our monthly e-newsletter. So can you type in the box if you receive our Cricket in Surrey Update newsletter? So if you do either CISU yes or no, depending on whether you receive it at the moment. So just as we're talking, if you pop in yes, no, and then we can get an indication of how many people are getting that. But as you'll see, so if you want to sign up for it, we have a little survey monkey which just collects your name, your club, and your email address. Then we can get you added onto our database, which means you can get the Cricket in Surrey updates. And I will endeavour to find the latest one to show you in a minute. So, other than future topics and questions, that's us done. So I will we'll start with some questions as I expected. Lots of no's and unsure's. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute, and you can tell me what you think. Right, so I'm going to work down the comments boxes now. So if you have any questions, get them in here now because I'm going to work my way down, and we'll go from there. So, okay, so Sarah, DBS assistant coaches who are under 18. You are quite right, Ian. Anyone who's over 16 requires DBS. So that was answered by Ian. Great stuff. The DBS update service, unless changes. Yeah, so Paul, there was a bit of misinformation that was handed down from the top that came out about this. So people who do an online DBS will, on an annual basis, receive an email to say, has anything changed? And if they ignore that and say, well, nothing's changed, I don't need to reply, it will be updated for a year. If anything's changed, and that's likely to be potentially address, it's likely to be married name potentially, then by replying to that trigger, that will then take them through the process of getting their DBS updated. If somebody's paid in their role as a DBS within the DBS, so if they're a coach like myself or paid in any way within cricket, then they have to update in the same way, so it will renew every 3 years. They won't get the auto renew as they pay, they'll have to repay every 3 years. Okay, so we've got here, if you've got online to do a DBS in 6 months, system locks you out. Yes, correct. So if you don't use the online DBS system in 6 months, it will lock you out. but hopefully where that's happening, people are just getting in touch with me and I'm unlocking them usually within an hour or so if I'm near a computer. So it's not ideal, but I will continue to unlock people, and maybe we'll feed that back up the chain to say, because obviously during that winter period, probably it is about 6 months. If we made it 8 months, it might not be such an issue. Sarah, have I thought about Instagram? We have, but we have limited resource to spend in terms of delivering content to all the channels. So it's definitely in our sort of longer term plan. We have got an Instagram account. We just don't use it very much at the moment. Okay, so there's a few people getting Cricket Insider update, a few people that aren't. So if you're not, I've got a recording of all your names, so I can check to see if you sign up to it on the website. Only kidding, but I would encourage you to definitely get signed up. Okay, so parents who transport other people's children to matches need a DBS. So technically, that's deemed poor practice. Parents shouldn't be really taking, or the club shouldn't be encouraging parents to take other people's children to matches. So as a policy, transport to matches is a no-no. Invariably, the way we get around that is by leaving parents to sort that out themselves. So if parents are happy, that, you know, because in essence they're going to be friendship groups involved there, and we just leave it to the parents to sort out, if that makes sense. So rather than the club getting involved in transport to matches, you would just say, you know, transport to away matches isn't provided by the club. You may wish to make your own arrangements with other friends or parents and leave it to them to pick up offline. Does that make sense? Right, I'm just going to dig out this Cricket and Surrey update just to show you quickly, and then I think we'll be done. Okay, so this is the one that went out, I think, a week or so ago. There you go. A couple of people liking a Facebook page already. That's what we like to see. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is the Cricket Insider update that went out about a week to 10 days ago. So a little bit around our social media, a little bit around a funding program we have in place with Flicks, initially around trying to get more state schools playing cricket where they might not have facilities to do otherwise. A little bit about our fundraising dinner in May at Steam Wine Bar. Some stuff around umpiring and scoring courses. So at the moment, there's lots of intro courses to umpiring and scoring going on, aimed at parent helpers, aimed at young aspiring officials. A little bit around the table cricket competition at the Oval. Some Friends of Surrey Cricket, which is our affiliation. Some coaching course stuff. Information about our coach support worker program, which is the one-day course for parent helpers, and a bit around the World Cup, and then a little bit. So it's a bit of a bumper edition, but that's what comes out once a month. It just really has all the information about the latest goings on, the latest goings on when it comes to cricket across the county, really. Yeah. So Sarah, I'm happy to seek further clarity on that, but I'll try and dig out the policy and send it to you. Okay, thanks, Neil. Thanks, Lisa. So yeah, so if people get on that survey, add your details in. Under the joys of GDPR, we do have unsubscription, so you can unsubscribe down the bottom here if you no longer wish to receive them, and if you don't open one for 6 months, you automatically get taken off it as well. So we work with a company called Two Circles that manage all of that for us. So it's pretty watertight on that front. Okay, so that's everything from me. If nobody else has any further questions, I will just take this opportunity to say thank you. I see that Heidi, I'm going to make Heidi a presenter. Heidi, I'm going to unmute you. Would you like to say anything? Heidi?
I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Have you anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I just really wanted to add on to what you were talking about transport policy. The transport policy is that parents need to make their own arrangements with regards to the transporting children. The club should not be getting involved in that, simply because parents' own insurance policies may be void if it's deemed to be a club event that they are transporting. You need to look at this very carefully. The transport policy in Safe Hands is a very good guide to have a read to find out exactly what you should and should be doing. So, in other words, if parents cannot transport their children to the club for training or away matches, then it is up to them to make their own arrangements via other parents or whatever. The club should not be getting involved. Is that all right, Simon?
It looks like it. You've got a perfect thank you from Sarah. And I'll dig it out and add it to the email that goes out with the link. So it's just a document in there.
Also, the ECB sent me all those updates today, so I will email those to you in a minute, Simon. The links. Yeah. Richard sent me the link, so I will email that to you in a minute, or forward it to you. All right. Perfect. With the Safe Hands updates, and then you can send those out to people.
Cool. Okay, thank you. I'm going to mute you again. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining the call. As I say, we'll be in touch with the links to the documents, the link to the recording. I need to think about how I'm going to get that sent out. We might post it somewhere and then send you a link, probably via YouTube. And good luck for the season. You know where we are. If you need us for anything, it's our role to help you. So we'll see you in the season, and see you in April at the Welfare Roadshow or the Forum down in Normandy if you can make it. So thanks a lot. I'm going to stop the recording, stop sharing, and enjoy your evening.